Hi, folks. I was doing some research this morning for a paper I'm doing in school, and I accidentally stumbled upon something. I just had to respond to it. That's why I'm making this little clip. I found a website called Church and State, and an article that was titled, "It's Time to Start Calling Evangelicals What They Are, the American Taliban." This is by a guy named J.C. Weatherby. Oh man, I read this article and it just so stirred me up. I got to share a few thoughts with you. The guy says that he used to be an evangelical. He used to listen to people like Jerry Falwell and all the rest. But then later in life, he came to his senses, actually, when he was still pretty young. And he says, look, folks, we just need to realize it and tell it like it is. Evangelicals really are extremists, and they want to force their religion on everybody. And really, basically, they're the same as the Taliban here. Taliban over in Afghanistan, they're the equivalent here in America. He says, bottom line, all these religions, they want to influence society, so they're just the same. Taliban, evangelicalism. And he goes on and he says, it's not a real long article, but he says that the way that evangelicals think is what has brutalized millions of African Americans in prison. I'm quoting. He says, we evangelicals, we want to take away the rights of women. We deny rights to LGBT people. Man, we not only deny rights to them, but we tacitly support violence against them. And, we don't say that, but we really do. And then he says, we want to eject science from schools and teach creationism. He says evangelicalism is the same as fascism. In fact, all religious extremism, quote unquote, is evil. Wow. The guy says we need to come to our senses and realize that human reasoning, the progressive way of thinking, is the right way to go. It's superior, and everybody should just understand that and submit to that. He doesn't realize, and this is what bothers me so much, he doesn't realize that everybody wants to influence society, not just evangelicals, not just the Taliban. Listen, everybody does. We all live here. And if we found something that we like, that we believe in, we want to share it. We all have our views and our values and so on, and we want our representatives to vote for those kinds of things, and we want those kinds of ways of thinking and policies and so forth to influence life, to be in law, to influence how we live life here. He doesn't realize he's doing the same thing we are. He just doesn't call his a religion. He calls it progressivism. He calls it reason. He thinks it's just neutral. And that's the deal with these guys. Their way of thinking, the progressive way of thinking, they're just neutral. They don't have a religion. They're not biased one way or the other. None of them ever think that. And they don't realize their view is just another view. And they want to influence society just the same as everybody else does. Why? Because people basically believe in what they believe in and they think it's right. They think it's good. And so, what I wish these people would realize is, number one, your worldview is just another worldview, and it's the equivalent of what you call our religion. And your religion wants to control things the same as ours does. That's why you vote for the things that you vote for and the people you vote for. You want it to go your way. You want it to be progressive because that's neutral and that's American and that's best. Hello. Think about what you're saying. And then the other thing is, this guy, I look at him and the things he lists here are amazing. He says that Christians have brutalized millions of African Americans in prison. Evangelicalism has brutalized the blacks. Really? So we really set all the policies in all the prisons and we set all the laws against drugs and so on. We caused all of that. We made those black folks use all those drugs and sell drugs and so forth, so they got arrested. We basically caused the violence in Chicago. We evangelicals, we caused that. So we've brutalized them. I bet you there's Christian preachers everywhere in these prisons with whips, just like in the days of slavery. They're brutalizing those people there. Listen, that's an absurd, outrageous accusation. Give me a break. You were involved. Your people, everybody's been involved in policies, laws, trying to fight against drugs, against crime. We try this, we try that. Listen, dude, we'll never get rid of crime. We'll never get rid of drug addiction. We do different things that help and some things that don't help. And we have to learn and we have to try. But don't blame evangelicals for all of it. You don't have any answers either, do you? You think you do. What? If you're in charge of the prisons, now all of a sudden they're all going to be rehabilitated there and they're going to come out and go home and never do drugs again and there won't be any violence again because progressivism really has all the answers? Give me a break. And then he talks about we want to take away the rights of millions of women. We're taking away the rights of women. I'll dare say there's millions of Christian women in this country who don't agree with you at all, buddy. And there's millions of women who aren't even Christians who don't agree with you. What rights are we taking away? Jesus Christ and Christianity is what elevated women more than any other religion. And you say we're taking away their rights? Oh, I know. You're talking about abortion. You don't want anybody to regulate abortion. So if we think abortion is killing a baby, we're extremists. And we want to take away rights, and we want to just put women back in the Stone Age because we don't believe that killing babies is a good thing to do. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Abortion. And we're taking away the rights of women. Well, what about the rights of unborn women, huh? Babies. What about their rights? Oh, you don't talk about that, do you? Then you say we want to eject science from the classroom? Really? Do you know, dude, science got started in the Christian worldview. Have you done any history, any study of history? Science only began in the Christian worldview, nowhere else in the world, not in the Islamic worldview, not under the Hindu worldview, not under any other worldview, the Chinese worldview. It never started anywhere except under Christianity. Science is the pursuit of truth. It came about where people were learning about God, and He is God, He is truth, and so they wanted to pursue truth. That's where science came from. That's where education came from. That's where democracy came from. Human rights all came out of the Christian worldview. And you say we want to eject science? Oh, I know. You say that because we want to teach stuff like intelligent design. That's what you're really talking about. We can't just toe the line and say that Darwinism is the only way, huh? Listen, have you studied any of this lately? Have you seen that they recently had a big conference in England because Darwinism's in trouble? It doesn't satisfy. It's not sufficient as an explanation for where things came from and how life has developed and all. Don't you know Darwinism is full of holes? Just because we want to look at other alternatives and options, you say we're extremists who want to eject science out of the classroom. Well, guess what? Intelligent design just says, hey, look, you know what? If you see somebody wrote Bill loves Sandy in the sand at the beach, you know an intelligence wrote that. You know the water and the waves didn't form that. You know that. Everybody knows that. We know when there's signs of intelligence, we can discern them. It's just common sense. That's real science. You want to eject that out of the classroom. You want to say that's not science. That is the pursuit of truth. And that's what science is supposed to be all about. You say we want to eject science. Give me a break. If we really believe something, you say we're extremists, right? Wow, I guess there's a whole lot more extremists around than we realize. Everybody who really believes something, they're an extremist. So I guess you have to just sort of be mealy-mouthed and lukewarm about everything and not really believe anything, huh? Because if you really believe it, you're an extremist. And if you're an evangelical, you're a fascist. Oh boy, give me a break. Fascism, you know, like Mussolini, like the Nazis. Do you know what fascism is? Where do you see Christians going around in brown shirts, burning books and beating people and ordering them to follow the party line and stuff like that? You guys are the ones doing it. Who are the ones breaking in, smashing windows, lighting fires, prohibiting free speech? Progressives. Give me a break. We're the fascists? Look at that woman in Berkeley. She says she's against fascism, and she is a fascist. Two main things. I got to wrap this up. But look at number one. I just wish people like this and progressives. I wish you'd realize this. And Christians, I hope we'll all realize we got to remember this. There are just different worldviews that people have, and progressivism and all of that is not neutral. It's another worldview. And the guy doesn't even realize it. He thinks it's common sense. That's why I've been teaching about this book, Making Sense of God by Dr. Timothy Keller, because he deals with this. He talks about how people don't realize they think they're neutral. It's like when I learned other languages and stuff, and people told me in Great Britain I had an accent. I didn't think I had an accent because I'm an American. Americans don't have an accent. I was so steeped in it, I didn't know. Of course we have an accent. And it's the same thing here. Progressivism, you guys have a worldview. You have an accent. You don't even realize it. Wake up. You just have another view, and you think your view is superior, and you want to push it on all of us. Well, we have a right to fight against that, not with violence or anything, but just in the free market of ideas, okay? And secondly, this is the key. The guy says right in this article, by age 15, at the peak of my adolescent sexual curiosity, I realized that any religion that demanded giving up my basic humanity was nuts. I submit to you, there's the real reason for folks like this. When people turn from God, they were raised in evangelicalism, they usually claim that the reason was because they became more thoughtful and they realized, that Christianity was crazy and they had to, there's a more advanced, sophisticated way of thinking of things. But almost always deep down, no, it didn't. It didn't a pursuit for the intellect and for the proper way of thinking about things. There was something sexual. There was something moral. You found out you were gay. You wanted to be transgender. You wanted to sleep with your girlfriend, and Christianity said that was sin and it was wrong. Why don't you just recognize it, dude? Bottom line, you don't want to do what God wants. It's immorality. It's sin. It's fornication. That's the real foundation of a whole lot of this. People don't want to hear about God, and they claim that it's for intellectual excuses, but those are just smoke screens. Come on. The real thing is your sexuality, and you know it. It's so common. That's why, again, this book, so good. He talks about it. Lots of people that way. They don't even admit it, or it takes time before they realize it. But come on, you left your faith because it prohibited you from doing what your flesh wanted to do. So I got to wrap up. That's the way so many people think today. I just wanted to challenge this thinking. I wanted to challenge this article. I couldn't hold it in. And I also hope that it helps you Christians to think about how these folks are thinking and what they're saying and what's right about it, what's wrong about it. Man, we're in a real battle for worldviews and for thinking today. If you have any questions or comments, you want to talk to me about this, I'd love to hear from you by email, hwarrenhoyt@gmail.com. Till next time, God bless you. Bye-bye.